The US has accepted that Russia has won the war in Ukraine and has decided to withdraw from the battlefield of Ukraine. Namaste and welcome to a fresh new episode of The New World Order with me, Atul Mishra. Let's begin. US and European countries have poured billions of dollars in aid and weapons to the war as a bait to instigate Russia. After Sweden and Finland ditched NATO, it is that in the army general. However, the puppet king, consumed by power and fear The Russia-Ukraine war has been a long and bitter struggle. It began in February 2022 and has been escalating ever since. The war has resulted into thousands of deaths and caused immense destruction. For the past few months, the United States and its allies have been providing military and financial aid to Ukraine in an effort to help them counter Russian aggression. However, it now appears that the US is withdrawing from Ukraine, and the recent Pentagon leaks seem to confirm this. According to Politico, which cited numerous unnamed individuals, the president of US, Joe Biden, is quietly preparing for the possibility that Ukraine's much anticipated fight might not result in the total victory Kiev and its allies desired. And there are also news reports that President Joe Biden's administration and the White House have sent Ukraine the same warning they did to the US-backed government in Afghanistan in 2021, as Politico reported on April 24, 2023. The report claims that Washington has warned Kiev not to overextend its aspirations or disperse its forces too thinly. Before the US withdrew from Afghanistan and the Taliban seized control of the nation, Biden reportedly said this to Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. The warning was given in light of US concerns that Kiev's forces' ever-imminent counteroffensive might not live up to its expectations, leaving Biden vulnerable to criticism from both hawks and doves, both at home and in Europe. It looks clear that the US has accepted Russia's victory over Ukraine and its allies. Russia has been steadily gaining ground in Ukraine and is now the dominant force in the region. Its military has been able to take key strategic positions and its forces are now firmly entrenched in the region. The US and its allies have been unable to make any meaningful gains in the conflict, and it appears that they have reached the limits of what they can do to help Ukraine. The recent Pentagon leaks, mind you there are no leaks, suggest that Ukraine is set to confront a perilous air defense situation. Most of the country's anti-aircraft missiles will be destroyed shortly with a deadline of the first week of May. It also said that Ukraine is using up its arsenal of 69 Buk missiles and 200 S-300 missiles. It suggested that if this rate of fire continues, the nation will exhaust its supply of S-300 weapons by May 3rd and Buk ammunition by the end of the week. According to some US officials who spoke to Politico, a negotiated truce would be presented to both the Western and Ukrainian public as a brief cessation of hostilities, leaving the door open for Ukraine to regain more of its territory at a later date. According to recent statements by the German and French leaders at the time, this was done with the 2015 Minsk agreement. However, the outlet did not mention that. US President Joe Biden has revealed that Susan Rice, who has served as the White House's domestic policy advisor for the past 2 years, will be leaving her position. By firing an old mayor like Susan Rice, President Joe Biden is clearly attempting to deflect blame and shift responsibility for the loss in the Russia-Ukraine war away from the Democratic Party. This move is a classic example of making a scapegoat out of an individual in order to avoid criticism and potential losses during the upcoming elections. The US has indeed accepted that a Russian victory is inevitable and has decided to cut its losses and move on. This is a bitter pill to swallow for Ukraine as well as for the US and its allies, but it is the only way to bring an end to this long-running conflict. In the end, it is a lesson that war is never the answer, and provoking Ukraine against the Russian bear was a fatal mistake. And once again, there are no leaks, only strategic news broadcasts.